Hello, everybody. My name's Ed Pavlik. We're in Lexington, Kentucky, where it's quite warm, under a heat dome, and our temperatures are in the 90s. My colleague today is,
Frank Lawton in London, UK. Our temperatures have been in the 80s, but it's a bit cooler now and wet. But we have forecasts for another heat wave, the fourth one of this year, which this being Great Britain, some people are looking forward to because we're always complaining about the weather, but some people say it's been far too hot. We need some cold weather to keep the vegetables growing. So there'll be the usual headlines in all the papers as to whether or not we're warmer than Benidorm or Mallorca or colder than the Arctic Circle. It happens all the time. You can guarantee these headlines.
well, Frank, I was looking on the internet today and I saw that the EE and the BT cellular services were down in the UK. At least they were this morning. I was a little worried that doing the GYN garage today would be in jeopardy. Do you still have phone service?
Yes, absolutely. There's been no problems here at all. I mean, we have a landline, but we hardly ever use it. All of our internet is now done by Wi-Fi. So if tomorrow the telephone lines came down, I don't think it would make any difference to us. And here we are, so it must be working.
Yes. Well, today we're going to consider the question, how well do three large language models in artificial intelligence perform assessing oncology drugs for drug-drug interaction and adverse events? Answer to this question is approached in the paper titled Reliability of Large Language Model Knowledge Across Brand and Generic Cancer Drug Names. This paper was recently published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology Informatics. Let me just simply say that what we know is that we're bombarded by artificial intelligence news. And with that bombardment in mind, it would make sense that it would be used by the pharmaceutical industry to either use less pharmacologists or to get better pharmacology results from in a faster method by using artificial intelligence. Now, the way this paper approached things is it had data sources for answering questions about how well you could link a generic drug with its brand name, how you could look at drug-drug interactions, and how you could look at adverse events related to the drug. It used three different models. These three different models have to do with what's the best, and that's the most recent. That's this GPT-4 subscript 0. And basically, in comparison to these different responses by these different models, it achieved its answers. Now, the task that it was looking at was how well does an artificial intelligence agent recognize from being given the generic name what the brand name is, and vice versa. And that's sort of shown in this box over here that I'm circling. It asks the prompt, what is the following brand name for the drug? And the drug here is given the name and it gives it answers. This can be done on more than just a singular drug basis. And that's how they attack this particular question. The next question they attacked was that tell us things about the drug. In fact, tell us things that might be dangerous about the drug. So choose from a list of whether the list of drugs is safe or unsafe. And so this prompt can be given either verbally or can be typed in. The next thing was to look at drug interactions, in which case the query named the drug and looked for drugs that might have of interactions with it. And then it would look for the prompt given by the AI agent. And then the last thing that they looked at is they were looking at adverse events, mostly with regard to immune system modulators. And basically what they did here is they described a case and they asked what is the likelihood of there to be a adverse effect from the immune drug that was being given. Now, bear in mind that all these drugs that are being surveyed are from oncology drug category. So, and what's important about that is that, as everybody probably realizes, oncology drugs can be quite dangerous, and so and people can be quite sick. So the drug-drug interactions probably are much more important here than than it would be for many other types of drugs. So with that in mind, let's take a look at what we can deal with. The paper itself, I call to your attention right here, is a pretty thorough and pretty easy to understand paper. And I would say what we also should realize is that there's a consideration with regard to the artificial intelligent agents that we're talking about. And that amounts to the fact that the data loading or the learning part of the background for these large language models occurred fairly long ago. I mean, 2023. And that meant that the information that was needed was obtained from the internet 2 years ago. And that can be a limitation in how accurate or how well these type of queries can appear. What the paper is all about is pharmacovigilance. And that means that really is asking the AIs to provide information on drug-drug interaction and adverse effects. Now, the endpoint of what we're looking at is that there's a high accuracy in matching brands to generic oncology drugs, and so that meant it could tell very, very well when a drug had a generic and when the generic had a brand name. So with that in mind, what we need to look at is the overall performance here. And there's some interesting things. The accuracy that was listed for all three models, all three AIs, was 84 to 97%. And, I think we'd all settle for, 3% imperfection, but maybe not 16% imperfection. There were over 367 generic to brand comparisons and 2,500 brand to generic comparisons. And that's what that accuracy was based upon. Now, I will say that there was some bias showed in one of the AIs, and that's that it simply found better results, or better results were obtained with it for generic drugs. And those are their odds ratios quoted in the paper, but it was a significant difference of 1.4 odds ratio up to 1.7 on either being effective or being side effect free. Now, with that being said, since these are the same drugs, we don't really expect this to happen. Now, the other thing that was happening was that the responses were scored against sensitivity type of analysis, and that was examined with an AI separate from these that looked for positive, negative, or neutral opinions in the output. And it turns out that the sentiment scores were higher for the brand name drugs and not for their equivalent that were generic. So now that that is really not what you'd expect. And lastly, there was a big lack of sufficient accuracy in matching drug-drug interactions, was less than 28%. So all things being said, this approach, I don't believe, is ready for primetime viewing. and needs some degree of improvement. Frank, what do you think?
Yes, I have to say that if I was a pharmaceutical company and I'd employed somebody to think of a wonderful name for a generic drug and these results came out, I'd think, well, perhaps we have spent the right money because the generic name seems to be less in some of the database. The generic name seems to be less well known, if you like, than the trade name. The other thing it's interesting, I thought that well, the two other things. One is that the assumption is that various drugs that essentially are the same drug but by different pharmaceutical companies and therefore different names have the same sort of molecular structure. It's a bit like saying that all tetracyclines are the same, and I'm not sure that they are. So there may be subtle differences in interactions with a drug that is said to be this is a monoclonal antibody, blah blah blah, but they're actually slightly different, the molecular structure. So that might be something to do with it. And the other thing is, and this is interesting, and I've had this problem before. If you look at databases, sometimes that if a drug is spelt with a capital, let's say it's a tetracycline with a capital T is seen by some computer programs as different from a tetracycline with a lowercase t. And that happens so many times on lots and lots and lots of databases that so essentially the quality of the database is how good of the quality of the data that's put in. I think that the machines themselves do a pretty good job. Whether or not that's going to get rid of pharmacologists and pharmacists in the near future, I don't think that's the case. But you can see it coming. It's clearly something that machine learning can learn very, very quickly. Once the glitches of possibly what I mentioned have been seen to. I thought it was a very interesting paper, and it's the way it's going to happen. There's no doubt.
That's right. And, of course, the paper does point out that how you structure the question, the query,
Yeah,
can be a bias and can be a shortcoming in the paper. But, if you hearken back to taking oral boards, you've sort of been coached not to ask, did you mean so and so? You're supposed to know what they meant as well as what the answer is. And I think where we are with artificial intelligence, that the AI may not know exactly what the query means or wants or need.
sure.
So that
Yes.
type of thing.
It's a bit like when you see certain pop-ups that come on the and on the screen. Which of these four do you? And it'll say, I don't know, Pepsi Cola, Coca-Cola, somebody else's cola, none of these. And so it's a very open question, isn't it? That they're not being specific. Does Coca-Cola do something that Pepsi Cola doesn't do? They're actually just asking very much, what is your opinion, presumably about the taste? So these machines are saying, well, as far as I know, this drug interacts with that drug because I've been told it does. But I can't tell you anything more than that because I don't have any more information. But of course, then someone's going to come along and say, right, we need to tell the machine that this is the difference. So it'll gradually improve. It's like all AI.
So, I will tell you, because you don't watch American TV, that, for instance, on those streaming sites that have commercial interruptions, whereas Netflix does not, but say Hulu does, I get to see a lot about the adverse events associated with each drug, even though I don't really know much about the drug. And what I would say is there's never a drug that goes across our screen that doesn't have a list of adverse events, which probably means we do need artificial intelligence to sort that out.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. Which are the proper adverse effects and which are the ones that are not really relevant from a therapeutic point of view. Yes. I remember some time ago, it came up on one of the screens. Which is your favorite potato? King Edward's, Jersey Royals, something else, and something else. And I don't know whether this was just a spoof question or whether someone in the potato marketing industry really wanted to know my opinion as to whether or not a Jersey Royal tasted better than a King Edward. I said none of these because I didn't really know the answer.
Well, and that's the difficulty. You have humans taking the query very seriously, and you'll have
Yes.
humans not doing the same. So,
Mm.
well, that should wrap it up for us.
Yep.
I wish you good luck and safety on your travels.
Yep.
And remember, I just saw this while I was doing something yesterday on the internet. But the Park Service in this country recommends a safe distance for polar bears, and that's 100 yards. So
100 yards. Providing someone's got a gun as well. So I'll stay on board the boat. I'll just do it from, I'll wave and.
okay, well, have fun in the Arctic.
All right. Nice to see you. We'll see you next month.
Okay,
Hopefully.
okay, I'll comment it. Bye bye.
Cheerio.